Okay, thank you very much, all of you who have assembled here. A very, very warm welcome to all of you for the fourth Stories of Change Awards ceremony. As you know, Stories of Change seeks to facilitate and recognize documentation of good practices of social change. The Stories of Change is a way of enabling organizations working on the ground to document their interventions not just as success stories, but as journeys and processes of change, with their highs and lows, pauses and continuities, challenges and learnings. The stories offer us the scope to reflect, learn, and share. Ever since its inception 4 years ago, the Stories of Change Case Studies Challenge has elicited an overwhelming response, and this year was no exception. We had a great number of case stories and submissions, and it was quite challenging for the selection team to come up with 10 selected stories. Congratulations to all the 10 organizations whose case studies have been selected, and the representatives, authors who have written these case stories have been with us over the past 2 days, and we have had really intellectually stimulating discussions with them about how do we write stories, what do we tell, how do we communicate, what do we learn from it. So today at this event, we have gathered to actually felicitate the representatives, the organizations for their amazing and exemplary work on the ground. But before coming to that part, I would like to call Richa Govil, Director, School of Development, Azim Premji University, to share a little bit about the story of the Stories of Change. How did it all begin? What was the context? What was the inspiration? So, Richa.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to all members of the university and invited guests from organizations who are part of this event. So I'll talk a little bit about how did this come about. As you know, grassroots organizations work on some of the toughest challenges facing us in very difficult circumstances, in locations that are complex, with communities that are complex, sometimes with government bodies. And when their stories get told, when they get written about, usually they are written from the eyes of an external person, sometimes a researcher, sometimes a journalist. And also there is a focus on the outcomes. Something was there before, something took place, something was the end result, right? And while this kind of writing has its value, it's very useful. It's useful in building awareness about the kind of work that gets done, but there is limited learning value in it. So if there is a practitioner who wants to learn from the work of other organizations, or if there's a student who wants to learn, you can't really get that sense from this kind of writing. So this is what was in our mind when in 2018 we started this effort. We felt that it is, as a university, it's important for us to bring the learning angle into this kind of, into writing. And not just that, to hear the process of change from the lenses and of the practitioners themselves, the organizations which have worked on these interventions, and also in their own voices, rather than somebody else coming and writing about it. So that's where we started. And see, everything that we do at Azim Premji University is guided by the purpose of Azim Premji Foundation, which is to contribute to a more just, equitable, sustainable, and humane society. And this work that we do, we see it as a contribution to the sector and also to higher education. So as you know, this is our fourth Stories of Change round. And this year, in addition to the other awards that we normally have, we also have a special award for one case in health. The reason, there are many reasons, but two of the main reasons are that, of course, we are just coming out of a time in our in our recent events due to COVID, where many organizations for the first time engaged with questions of health. And even the organizations that have been working with health for years and years, this kind of a pandemic was something that they, of course, all of us faced for the first time. Also, the second reason being that this year, the university is launching our Masters of Public Health program in Bhopal. And this is a precursor to that program that's going to be coming soon. So for both these reasons, in addition to our usual awards, we also have a special award in health. So with that, let me stop here and welcome you again to the 4th edition of Stories of Change. Thank you.
So thank you, Richa, for sharing that context, that journey. So as we have just shared that 10 organizations and their stories have been selected for this edition, the volume 4 of Stories of Change. So the representatives of these organizations are here. One organization could not be present here, Kolkata Samved. But the 9 organizations are here, and we will felicitate them with some certificates of appreciation. So right now, I'd like to request Giridhar. Giridhar is a senior member of the Azim Premji Foundation to come to the stage. Thank you, Giri, so much for taking time out to be with us. I will now read out the names of each of the organizations and the members, and also the name of your case story. And I'd like you to come to the stage to receive the certificate of appreciation. After this, I will also we will have a session where each of the authors will give us a snippet about the story. So we'll ask the authors to tell us or share with the audience about the story for 5 minutes. So yes, we will begin. So we'll begin with the 3rd prize in the true spirit of a competition. Yes. So the 3rd prize goes to to Swati, Society for Women's Action and Training Initiative. So Anagha is here. And their story's name is Kangaroo Mother Care. Come. No. Sorry. Very sorry. Strengthening early detection of survivors of domestic violence in rural areas. Interventions at the community level through ASHA. Right. Sorry for that hiccup. The 2nd prize goes to Pragati Abhiyan. Vidya Kulkarni is with us. So the name of the story is Revival of Superfood, the story of reviving Naga leaf, finger millet by Adivasi farmers with Pragati Abhiyan in Maharashtra. And the 1st prize goes to Association for Advocacy and Legal Initiatives Trust, Ali. We have Noor Pant and Sonali Mishra with us. The name of the case study is Casework Intervention Program. Both of you can hold it. Come, please.
No, they can come closer.
Yeah, come this way. Yeah.
To the side.
Please. Who cancel? Congratulations. As Richa mentioned, that this year we have a special prize for the best health initiative, the story on the best story on a health initiative. And this prize goes to the Karnataka Health Promotion Trust, KHPT. We have Vrinda Manocha here, who's, by the way, our alumni also. So this name of the story is Kangaroo Mother Care, accelerating the uptake of a low-cost, life-saving method for low birth weight babies in Koppal district, Karnataka. Congratulations, alumni. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have several other organizations whose stories have been really, really amazing, and they are part of the volume 4, which will be soon published by, say, June end or July of this year. So I'd like to call the next organizations Equations. We have Joyatri Ray from Equations here. The story is called Making Khajuraho a Safe Place for Children, Child Protection and Tourism. We next have the Sunbird Trust. We have Colonel Christopher John Rigo here. The name of the story is Peace Through Education in Conflict-Affected Parts of Northeast India, a study of the work of Sunbird Trust. We next have Snehadhara Foundation. We have Yashashwani Gupta, Gitanjali, Govindarajan, and Vibha Bhatt from Snehadhara. The name of the case study is Uhuru Daily Learning Program. Come.
Please. Somehow all three of you must manage to hold.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good enough. Oh. I knew it. Thanks. Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, the next organization is PATH. We have Sushmita Das from PATH here. The name of the case study is Eliminating Tuberculosis Through Large-Scale Engagement of Private Providers, a case study of Mumbai PPIA model.
Please. Thank you. Congratulations.
Finally, we have Vidyal and we have Keppana Kaunda Kamaraj from Vidyal. The name of the case study is The Evolution of Traditional Women Goat Rearers into a Corporate Company, the Role of Mobile-Based ODL and Lifelong Learning.
VDL.
Vidyal.
Vertical.
So thank you very much, Giri. Thank you, Richa.
Okay. Pleasure.
So now we come to the most important and interesting part of the program. We will be hearing from all our participants a little bit about the story which has been selected. So I will call you in the order in which we called you to the stage. So, or maybe we'll begin with Ali. So Noor and Sonali, or I think Noor, you'll be sharing the story. So 5 minutes each. I'm going to be this really strict moderator and be rapping you, rapping on the table, saying, "Okay, your 5 minutes are over." Over to you, Noor. Thank you.
Yeah, very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Noor from Association of Advocacy and Legal Initiatives Trust, ALI. So ALI was established in 1998, and we are a women-led organization committed to the protection and advancement of rights of women, children, and other marginalized communities. So now, going straight to the chain story. So we started our story with a case which involved two couples, right? So one couple was an intercaste couple, and another couple was a same-sex, same-gender couple. So it was like way back in early 2000s. So they resided in the city called Kanpur, and they feared the backlash from the family, from the community, and they heard about Ali, and they came to Lucknow and to seek our help. So, and our support in, they wanted to get married. So we were, at that time, we were a very small team of, few feminists and activists, so who actually were lawyers as well. So they wanted to, help them, and they counseled them, they talked to them, and then we went to Kanpur for, to the magistrate for the statement, and there they faced a lot of backlash in the court, and which forced the Ali team to come back to Lucknow. But coming back to Lucknow, Ali team filed a habeas corpus in Allahabad High Court. And during the court proceedings, actually before that, the family of the girl, they filed an FIR against the boy saying that he has kidnapped their daughter. So then a long court proceeding went, and the girl was sent back to her home. And at that time, Ali was really at loss. Like, we really didn't know how to take up such cases. And we don't know what happened to the lesbian couple. We tried our best, but then, the couple themselves, they didn't want to, actually create problems in their family. So, and such stories, this is not just one story. There were so many cases which came to Ali, where the girls, especially females, the girls faced a lot of backlash, a lot of opposition in their family. And these cases of violence, domestic violence, they forced, like, I won't say forced, but inspired Ali to start a casework intervention program. So with this, like in 2007-8, we started our casework intervention program. Earlier, Ali was an advocacy group, and we used to do advocacy with government. So since it had lawyers, it had the founders were lawyers, so cases used to come. So now they thought that, okay, we should actually start a case intervention program. And that is how, because Ali believe that we take law as a tool to actually enable access to justice for women and other marginalized communities. So we started our case intervention program in 2007 and 2008. And in 2011, when we did a mapping of cases, we saw that Ali was intervening in around 56 districts at that time, across 21 states in the country. So, but one major challenge which we faced was that we were not able to find organizations, with similar mindset, with similar feminist approach and right-based approach to, connect and, represent those women who are struggling to access their rights. So then we developed a strategy. We thought, okay, Ali cannot reach, to every district, to every small city, and fight for the rights of the women. So let us establish casework centers across those cities. So we started with UP. We started with UP, and in 2011, we started training different organizations which had that rights-based approach, which had that feminist lens, but they did not have the technical knowledge, the legal knowledge to carry out the casework centers. So we in every district we selected one organization. In fact, we called the organizations and we conducted trainings. So trainings used to span like 4 phases of trainings which spanned across the period of 6 months. So we trained them from every organization. 2 to 3 people used to come and get trained. And after the training, we selected one organization from each district by conducting an interview, through which we just screened them that which exactly organization is able to understand our vision, our view, and would able to work with our objective, which is access to justice, providing access to justice to women. So we selected one organization from each this thing, and during the training process, it is still a very exhaustive training process. We start from very basics of gender, patriarchy, and we explain like how women are discriminated at various levels. And then we come to different laws which are related to rights of women, like Domestic Violence Act and POSH, which is Sexual Harassment at Workplace, 2013. So there are various acts based on which we give them training. And then these caseworkers whom we selected and they go to their own districts and they work as casework centers, right? So they go in the community, they organize meetings, they meet women, and then they discuss these things, their rights, they disseminate the information, and then they like recognize the cases of violence which the women face in their districts. So this is the structure how our casework centers work. So initially one challenge which we used to face was that we hardly were able to find organizations with women, full-time women employees in the organizations. And since we ourselves, we are a women-led organization, and those who identify themselves as women, so we always felt that, we really want to recruit women the caseworkers who will then work as paralegals. So we asked the organizations that if you really want us to, partner with you, then you need to hire women. And then actually they did, and now all our caseworkers are women caseworkers, and they work in their districts. So currently we are present in 52 districts across 4 states, which is Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, and Bihar. Two districts each in Uttarakhand and Bihar, and rest in Uttar Pradesh and Jharkhand. So this is the process, and how we, okay, so I'm getting this thing from so I'll just wind up. So what is our actually the strong point is how we treat our survivors. We don't call them victims. Whenever a survivor comes to us, and we try and provide a very, very safe place to that woman. We listen to her. Sometimes the survivors just want a person to listen and give a ear and a full attention to whatever story of struggle she's going to share. So we provide a safe space where they are heard without any judgments, without passing any judgments, or with any preconceived notions, any kind of patriarchal mindset. So that is our I feel a USP, that we focus that that kind of environment is given to each and every survivor. So that is how we work in our casework intervention program. And one more thing, that every year we handle at around 200 to 250 cases of violence against women. Sorry, 2,000 to 2,500 cases of violence against women across all 4 states. So that is, and this is a minuscule number if we actually see the actual data. So there's still a long way to go, and we really wish that more such partnerships are formed, and we could actually expand to as many states and as many cities as possible. So yeah, so is my time over? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Noor. That was very insightful, maybe leaving many questions to be asked, but I think the audience can also interact with you after the program is over. So next, I'll like to call Vidya from Pragati Abhiyan. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to start by thanking the team Stories of Change. A big thanks to you. Big thank you for everything, means the process, today's event, and the support you have given in writing. Actually, you compelled us to write our story, and that was the best part of it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been written. Thank you. Here I am representing Pragati Abhiyan. Pragati Abhiyan is based in Nashik in Maharashtra, and we work with rural communities. We work on the issues of rural poverty and rural livelihoods. We are working since 2006. Our story is about Nagli. Nagli is also known as Ragi or Nachni, finger millet. Nagli is central to the lives of Adivasi communities we work with. It is their staple diet. And actually, it is very nutritious. Nutritionally, it is very important part of their diet. And it is there, traditionally, they have been growing and eating Nagli for ages. In 2018, in one of our field visits, we came across the problem of Nagli. The farmers complained that their Nagli yield is going down year by year. And they can't produce enough to consume. So they wanted some solution out of this problem. Pragati Abhiyan had no experience of working on this issue. Nobody in Maharashtra also was working on revival of millets, Nagli. But Pragati Abhiyan found some knowledge partners among the networks Pragati Abhiyan was part of. From them, Odisha has done very pioneering work in millet revival and promotion of millets. And learning from those experiences, Pragati Abhiyan started its work in Nashik region. Pragati Abhiyan developed a package of practices and started a pilot in 2018. Over 100 farmers were part of this pilot program. And what is this package of practices? Through this package of practices, we introduced new cultivation practices. We encourage farmers to adopt new practices, and because the traditional practices were not giving them the yield, rather the yield was reducing. So in the new practices, we introduced how to select seeds, how to treat the seeds, how to do the line transplantation, all these practices that are helpful to grow the productivity of the plant. And also preparing organic manure and using organic ways of disease management. All these practices are cost effective. Without increasing the input cost, these practices could be adopted with support from Pragati Abhiyan. And after farmers adopted these practices, they could see the change it was making. Since beginning, the change was evident. Like, because the seeds were selected properly, seed selection was done properly, seeds were treated, the germination rate was also good. Then the plants were, because of the line planting, the plant's growth was also very good, and plants were healthy. They had more branches. So, and ultimately, all this resulted in greater yield. Farmers experienced that the productivity was increased 3 to 4 times than the traditional method they used. So they were happy because the produce was more, but more than the increased yield, they were happy to see the healthy growth of the crop. Like, they were longing to see a healthy Nagli crop they earlier used to grow, and which was not happening, but because of this new method, they could now get a healthy, robustly grown crop. After this successful pilot, we approached Tribal Development Department, and this program was expanded to more areas, 7 blocks and 3 districts, and over 2,000 farmers became part of it. So whether means it has not. I mean, it is not. It hasn't happened as smoothly as I'm telling you. There were challenges, but I would like you to read the story to know the challenges. What does this story tell us? And this story, especially in this year, which is declared as the International Year of Millets. So, importance of millet is now recognized. It's because of its nutritional value. It is also known as superfood. But and it is also promoted. The consumption of millet is also is promoted. but there is focus only on more consumption. There has to be also the focus on increasing productivity, and for that we have to work with the cultivators, like Adivasis mainly, who are cultivating nagli and other millets for ages. Secondly, the cultivators should also benefit from increased productivity. So whatever they are growing should benefit others, but it should benefit to them also. So for this purpose, it has to be, it has to reach them through government programs like PDS, like midday meal scheme, and other government schemes, Anganwadis and ashram schools. So with this point of view, we are working with farmers and government and other stakeholders to revive the Nagli. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vidya. I'll now call Anagha from Swati. Thank you. Come.
Hello everyone. I'm going to tell you about. Okay.
Is this okay to speak once?
Hello.
Is it okay?
So I'm representing Swati, Society for Women's Action and Training Initiatives, and this is an organization based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Swati works with rural women for their empowerment to stop violence against women, and mostly the work has been focused into socially backward districts of Gujarat. The story that I'm going to tell you about is about an intervention that Swati has introduced in Patan district of Gujarat. So this is a story of Swati's experience of involving ASHA, the accredited social health activists, in suspecting violence against women based on health symptoms. This initiative is a part of a larger intervention that Swati has been carrying out for strengthening rural health system response to survivors of violence. The intervention has two components. First is a hospital-based crisis intervention and support center, and the second one is the outreach component that involves a counselor visiting a sub-center or health and wellness center periodically, and ASHAs referring suspected cases of domestic violence to the counselor at sub-center. So together this is a model. The ASHAs have been trained by Swati to recognize, to understand the linkages between violence and its health impact, and they use this understanding in their routine work to suspect violence. Say for example, Ashas during their routine work, if they notice a pregnant woman who's losing weight or who is anemic and whose anemia is not improving with medication, or if there is someone who is repeatedly asking Asha frequently for painkillers for aches and pains, you know. So for this, uh, and there are other, another common thing is women talking to Ashas about feeling stressed, tension, worrying, constantly having same thoughts, unable to sleep, all those things, Ashas suspect violence and they refer these women to the counselor. Additionally, Ashas also suspect violence based on social conditions which are known to trigger violence. These primarily include childlessness and having only daughters. You know, no male child can often trigger violence in this area, so they refer these women. Also, young widows who often face violence from the members of marital family to for they are removed from the inheritance of the household, so they are the common conditions and situations in which ashas suspect and refer these women to sub-center for meeting the counselor. This experiment has been has shown very encouraging results. The data collected over 2 years that ended in 2022 June showed that 67% of ASHAs, like 2/3 of ASHAs who had been trained, referred women. A total of 980 women were referred in this time period. 60% of them admitted to having faced violence or facing violence at the time of referral, and almost half of them. So, 28% of 980 women. So that many women accepted help from the counselor during the first contact session. So this kind of speaks about the need for the service and the kind of role Swati's initiative is playing in that area. This initiative we feel is worthy of stories of change because this is early detection and secondary prevention, you know. What is early detection in this context is that ASHAs suspect violence before there is a severe social and health impact. Severe social impact usually means destitution, throwing away of the woman from the household, her being homeless, facing violence at natal house, etc., etc. And severe health impact, as we all know, the death could be the ultimate thing, but in between women face chronic conditions, they have concussions, they have lots of bad things happen to them in that period. So this is early intervention because when we reviewed the results, 90% of the women that ASHA had referred were still living in their marital home and continued to live in the marital home after the intervention. If we look at the health symptoms that ASHAs were using to suspect women of facing violence, 23% were complaints of stress, sleeplessness, worrying, constantly having same thoughts, etc. Similar number was common reproductive health conditions like menstrual disorders and white discharge. 20% were what ASHAs described as high-risk pregnancy. Pregnant women who had one or more health conditions, which could be loss of weight, anemia, high blood pressure, aches and pains, etc., etc. And another 21% they had referred because the women did not have children, inability to conceive. So this kind of shows the early detection aspect of it, because the hospital data showed that in hospital women are suspected of having faced violence only in very severe conditions, such as when they approach with suicidal attempts or with fractured arms and legs, etc. So this is the merit of this model. Another thing, the benefits that we noticed was this initiative has taken the services to the doorsteps of women and increased access so that women whose mobility was restricted as a part of violence against them could also approach the counselor for seeking help. And it's because of ASHA's presence in all villages and ASHA's position, more than 80% of the women ASHA referred actually reached the sub-center to take consultation from the counselor. ASHAs do not need to accompany the women, so their association with violence prevention services is not apparent for all to see. Reduced chances of repercussions for ASHA. All women who interact with the counselor are provided with key messages regarding violence against women and availability of help, and therefore it also works as awareness generation method. We have seen a whole lot of examples of spillover effect where women who were referred other women for taking services. So these were the benefits that we saw, and we think it can bring about a big change because ASHAs are present in all villages, and there is a tremendous potential for upscaling of this initiative throughout India. Thank you.
Thank you, Anagha. I'd like to call Vrinda now from the Karnataka Health Promotion Trust.
Good afternoon. It's my privilege to present on the behalf of KHPT our intervention on the acceleration of the uptake of kangaroo mother care in a northern district of Karnataka called Koppal. So KHPT is a public health organization headquartered in Bangalore, but working in 18 states across India in various fields. And our hallmarks are basically evidence-based research, a strong community connect, and working with the government to integrate our programs with the government. And why I'm saying this is it ties very much into this story of change, which is about accelerating the uptake of kangaroo mother care. And so before we get into it, what is kangaroo mother care? So basically, it's a simple low-cost technique which involves placing a low birth weight baby. That's a baby below the weight of 2,500 grams. And they're really, really small, and they're really, really weak. And this is because babies actually don't have that much brown fat, and they can't shiver, so they can't generate heat. Because of which, if they are left out, uncovered or in the cold, they tend to develop, like their body temperature drops, they tend to develop infections leading to a risk of death. And so kangaroo mother care was a technique developed in Colombia, I believe, in the 1970s at an overburdened hospital, where they realized that if you kept a baby in skin-to-skin contact with the mother for a prolonged period of time, the mother's body would be able to provide enough heat to actually keep the baby warm. There was no need for a radiant warmer. There was no stress on the mother because of being separated from the baby. And there's actually been evidence that there's been stronger bonding. And so KMC is the skin-to-skin contact plus exclusive breastfeeding. So KMC has actually been part of the government policy since 1994. The policy, however, was very much focused on facility-based KMC. And as many persons, especially those who have gone on field visits, would know that after delivery, sometimes the mother just gets up and she leaves. She's not going to stick around and wait to keep her baby in skin-to-skin care for days on end until the baby's weight increases. So there was a disconnect in the sense that many people were going back from the facility without the knowledge of how to do KMC at home, and therefore it wasn't really very effective. So KHPT started this project between 2016 and 2018 in collaboration with St. John's Research Institute and with funding from the WHO. And we worked in the northern district of Karnataka called Koppal on what is implementation research. So basically, we developed a model after assessing the gaps at the facility and at the community to understand what were the gaps and how we could address it, and how we could bridge the gap between the facility and the community, because a disconnect there was actually preventing long-term long-term uptake of KMC. So basically, there was a facility-based component and a community-based component. At the facility level, there was the creation of KMC wards, or a place in the hospital where mothers could actually have the peace of mind to be left alone, because KMC involves placing the baby on the chest, and hospital wards are crowded. There are a lot of people coming and going. There's not a lot of privacy. So to do prolonged KMC for over 8 hours at a day, which is what is considered effective KMC, they created separate wards. And all of this is in consultation with the hospitals themselves. We also worked with the private sector. It took some time to convince them, because because newborn babies are at risk and they're so small and so weak, there was a lot of sensitization that needed to be done because radiant warmers are generally an easier way to go, but it's not the most efficient, and it also separates the mother and the baby. So eventually there was an uptake once people were sensitized properly on KMC. And then there was where we had a system of nurse mentors who would actually handhold the nurses to be able to provide it and to be able to monitor how long a mother was getting KMC. And the best part about this intervention is that the benefits were very visible. So people were converted when they saw it. You could see the baby gaining weight. A baby can gain about, I think, 25 to 50 grams a day. So to actually see that benefit was one of the greatest things for them to be able to see and to believe in KMC. And at the community level, because mothers were going pretty much from the facility at home, there were cultural practices, there were rituals that needed to be carried out at home. There was a linkage system set up where the nurse would call the Asha and be like, Ashas generally take a couple of days to get to the mother, by which time if they discontinued KMC, it's hard to get them back on it. So the nurse mentor would call the Asha and be like, she's gone home, can you just visit her? So the Asha would follow up with her on days 1, 3, 5, 7. After a while, it would go up to about 28 days to make sure the mother was doing it. And you have to take into account the contextual factors where if there was, the family plays a huge part in the decision-making about a mother's health, so about a woman's health. And so a lot of convincing had to be done of the mother-in-law or the husband. And they had to be enlisted as well, because if you're trying to keep a baby for 8 hours at a time, it's not easy. So one of the greatest stories we have is one of our, we called him the KMC father, who provided what we call foster KMC, which is where he would dress up in his wife's nightie, because that was the easiest for him, and he would place the baby on the chest, and when he got home from work, he would give his wife a reprieve and give her some time to take some time off, and he would provide KMC. And so this sort of intervention went pretty well, in the sense that there was suddenly some media attention when one of our mothers in Koppal, she had given birth to triplets who were all about 1,500 grams each, and it was a really low birth weight. And but she provided KMC to all of them at once. And that's when the WHO picked up the story and took it to an international level, where a lot of interest was generated locally and at that level, which also served as a facilitator for other persons to start doing KMC. It became very widely known in Koppal district, at which point, at the end of the project, we were working in 90 facilities. And because it was implementation research, there was constantly testing, improving, developing case sheets for monitoring, adapting them, adapting communications materials to sort of explain to mothers why are we doing this. And by the end of that intervention, we had generated enough evidence to show that babies on KMC their weight was increasing, and it was an effective intervention. And so we took it to the government of Karnataka. And since then, they have incorporated KMC into their program implementation program. Since then, they have, in I think 2019, 20 or 2021, they have actually set aside a budget of 1 lakh to set up KMC per district hospital, to set up KMC units, where a mother can have the privacy to give KMC by herself, and for a certain period of time. And to our knowledge, because we work in Koppal as well, we still know that our frontline workers are known as KMC Asha, KMC Uma, KMC Brahmagowda, because that's the sort of lasting impact that it's had. So I'm very pleased to be able to share this, and I would like to thank Azim Premji University for giving us the opportunity. And I hope everyone will read the case study and sort of share good news, because good news is in such short supply nowadays. So yes, so please, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vrinda. I'd like to now call Joyatri from Equations. Joyatri.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Azim Premji University, for this great opportunity. It's a great privilege to share this story with you. I'm going to say, to talk about a story about tourism, and trying to say a few things about the work that we do on child protection in travel and tourism, in the context of travel and tourism. A place called Khajuraho, which most of you will know, it's a very world-famous tourism destination. It's also one of the 40 UNESCO sites that India has as of today. It's a place where we started working long back in 2013. The first time when we actually entered Khajuraho, the entire intervention was based on the news that this place is now becoming a hub for the traveling child sex offenders. We know about Goa, we heard about Kovalam, we heard about Puri, and we have been working on this issue from 1991, when the first case of Freddie Peets came into view, and the government of India started talking about saying, okay, maybe there is something to be actually looked at. Though we struggled till 2004, when the first study came up, which was done by the Ministry of Women and Child Department, along with the National Human Rights Commission. But this story brings back to a process that we started when we started working in Khajuraho. We figured out that there has to be a collective learning process. It cannot happen by one organization saying what to be done. As a process, what we started doing is we come up with a study where we brought in different stakeholders together. We brought in the government stakeholders, which was the SDM. We also, invited tourism stakeholders like the hoteliers, guide association members. We have invited, the the street vendors. There were, there were the chain of local transporters like travel agents and travel operators. We brought them all together along with the local organizations, which was there to actually act on a study. That collective study brought them to this very stark reality that yes, Khajuraho is becoming a hub for the traveling child sex offenders. And they looked at it from their very business point of view, saying if this place is going to be labeled as something which is not really very pleasant, then their business is actually going to be effective. And it, affected. And that was a plus point for us because we don't have to do any more advocacy. They took it up saying, okay, let's do something together from a protection point of view and from a prevention point of view. That was the start of this whole process. Now, when we started this whole process, we also looked at 4 pathways. We looked at children, because we wanted children to be empowered with knowledge, skills, and ability to identify risk, and also to maintain the boundaries that they should maintain when they're talking to the strangers, because children over there were primarily characterized by the children, those who are migrating from various nearby places. They were either accompanied or they were sometimes non-accompanied minors as well. And they were at severe risk because they were continuously acting as so-called guides for the tourist, in lieu of maybe a good cup of coffee, sometime ice cream, sometime rubbers, sometime pencils, some kind of color pencils, which we always see when you go to various tourism locations. You may see that children will come running to you asking for something, and that becomes their contact point. And unfortunately, all are not considerate. So that's where the started to look at children as also to kind of work with children with the knowledge and skills and the kind of an ability to kind of enable them to become agents of change with the support of the community. When we say community, it was primarily the parents as well as the community elders and also the community community influencers, those who were there. There was a huge political leadership that actually came into play because these are all becomes, it is, tourism is a very lucrative industry. It is a business industry. So so the political leadership came into view, saying that what was happening, but to our favor. It took us a little time, but they also slowly came into actually kind of joining hands, at least by not preventing us to do what we were actually working on. The third pillar of work was actually the government departments, which was the entire child protection mechanism over there, starting from the this National Commission for Children, looking at SCPCR, looking at the anything that you know of, the CWCs and all of them. But the problem that we faced right at that point of time when all of these people started working, the main problem was that Khajuraho does not have any center. Neither it has a child care center as such. A CWC doesn't sit there. Neither we had a healthcare facility over there. So any child who's identified has to go to Chhattarpur, which is around 2 hours of journey, even for the CWC to be placed. So we said that, okay, if this is the situation, then also the tourism stakeholders need to be trained. So we started working with them on POCSO. We started working with them on a code that then there's a national code called a Code for Safe and Honorable Tourism Code, which was done in 2010 by the Ministry of Tourism, the Government of India. We started working with them on that, and we started talking to them from their perspective, asking them to say that if you are because you are a business operations and you need to abide by the laws of the land. So it is something that you are doing which is actually a act of charity or actually a social work. What you are really doing is you are complying to the law of the land. That really helped them, because when we explained to them POCSO, they figured out if they do not act on it, the cost is much more than actually acting on it. So the clauses really helped in terms of that. Other thing that worked very well was that this group of several people, like you have government, you have children or youth, you have community, as well as the tourism stakeholders. They came together and formed a multi-stakeholder team. And the multi-stakeholder team became then the ears and eyes to actually address child sexual exploitation in these places, resulting in preventing 12 children to be trafficked from Khajuraho to another foreign land, I cannot name it because it's live streamed, so I would not, I'm not able to say the whole thing, but it was a huge case, and it was a very, very an important case in Khajuraho to actually then finally the SDM passing an order to all the tourism service providers, including hotels as well as the travel agencies, to put a clear, clear poster kind of a thing, saying that, the various clauses that is there in the POCSO, and also very clearly saying the right to dial, putting this helpline number 10998 there, and also to very clearly say that if there is anything to be seen, I will be, the hotel is mandatorily have to be, reporting these cases. So that was really a breakthrough at that time. Now, what it resulted into is we found that in the COVID time, this strategy worked very, very well, because the COVID time was a time when we were not able to be many of us were not able to build in the field. Only the people, those who are in that location, were able to do something. So this particular multi-stakeholder group has taken up the awareness building programs, taken up the relief programs, and most importantly, this what happened during this time was the recognition of 11,000 women street vendors. As part of the e-portal, this e-shram portal, which enables them to get their social security rights, which was a very, very visible output. Other thing that happened is that the guide associations were considered taking up the virtual tours, and they were continuously explaining and talking about child protection mechanism there, making sure that the trafficking, which is quite high in that entire region of Bundelkhand, was actually prevented. So this is basically we found this as a change story, because this is now, as I speak today, this platform runs 2 learning center independently, without any funding from anywhere else other than their own funds. They every month contribute 30,000 rupees towards this learning center facilitator, and they take care of this entire process that we're talking about. So we thought that was a very sustainable change that has happened there, and we wanted to share with you. Thank you very much. Please read the case study, and I hope that you will get much more information there. Not an easy journey, but it's a worthwhile journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jayatri. I'd like to now invite Colonel Christopher John Rigo from Sunbird Trust.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Azim Premji University, for this beautiful opportunity. Just the very process of taking part in this exercise has given us so much learning about ourselves. It was a whole team involved. We went through everything right from the start. We found out how many things we were doing right and the change we were making, and we discovered, just like I talked with the team just now, the changes that we should not have been making as well. So what is the story of change of Sunbird Trust, our organization? I have to say that it starts with me, because I've been in uniform for 35 years, and I retired as a colonel from the Army in 2016. And during that time, I had the privilege and the honor to serve 8 years in conflict-affected parts, very badly conflict-affected parts of the Northeast, that is Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram, where I opted to serve. So it was during that time that, besides the beauty of the place, the hospitality of the people, and the thorough enjoyment of being there, I personally also experienced a lot of the violence, saw our vehicles being blown up, boys kidnapped, there were funerals, a lot of violence, not only against the government, but between tribes and communities, which made me think, on top of it all, literally tens of thousands of soldiers, of paramilitary forces stationed in the Northeast. And for what? To keep the gun against our own people. There is no them and us, it's all us. And the thought came to my mind is that, okay, as long as the gun is there, maybe peace will be secured. That's the writ of the state, in which I, as a soldier too, had to maintain. But is there something more sustainable which is long-lasting, that we can change the mindset so that we don't need this type of investment, the billions that is being spent in the salaries, in the equipment, in the training of our soldiers and paramilitary forces, and instead this money going to the development sector. So it's that time when my wife and I was posted with the Assam Rifles in Mizoram way back in 2003. We took a deliberate step to sort of step into the community and find out where the angst was coming from. So what we discovered was that in these remote parts of the Northeast, as most of us here know, out of sight, out of mind for most of us, when you go just beyond the state capitals, the schools are barely functional. No, there are hillocks where you have 30 huts and 40 huts. You can't have a school everywhere. So a lot of children were skipping school without the education, without the empowerment, obviously no jobs. It became very fashionable to join the militant organizations, to get radicalized and join this liberation army, or go across to Myanmar and get drugs to survive. So our thought process was, let's get the children into the education system so that we could break this cycle of violence and give them an opportunity for better choices in their lives. So starting with the adoption of a few children for their studies, this grew quite substantially. The big discovery was that people were not radicalized against their country. The thing is, when you go to places in some parts of the Northeast, there is no electricity, there's no water, no policeman, no postman, no symbol of the Indian state other than people in uniform, perhaps, who come and stop them at the checkpost or visit their houses. And we want to walk into villages like this, who call us literally Indians, and plant a flag and say Bharat Mata. So it doesn't work that way. So the thought process was reach out, get the children into school, and that's how we started, by sponsoring the children. And like I said, the miracle that started happening was the people, the minute you touched them, the minute you reached them, the minute you looked after their children, the Indians became their best friends. And so this process started multiplying. And from 2-3 children, we went into the hundreds literally, thanks to friends, thanks to batchmates, and then the corporates that stepped in. So my last posting, now this story is not about me, this is about our beautiful team, about which nothing could have happened. Before I go further, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sonal Setia. Could you please stand up, Sonal? So just a couple of words about her, because she was one of the big changes of our organization. Dr. Sonal's background is that she's an IIT postgraduate in biotechnology, went on to do her doctorate from Glasgow University, changed direction, did her Teach for India, and then blundered into Sunbird as an intern. So she first started off as a school teacher in our remotest school, soon was promoted to principal, and then with the work that she did, which we had to do together literally for 3 years, built up the organization. So now she's here in Azim Premji University in the School of Public Policy and Governance, and I may say that she's been elected as a trustee of Sunbird Trust. Okay, so that is the thing. So anyway, going forward, so how did we make the change, and what is the change that happened? So the first thing is we got people to trust people from other parts of the country. We got the Army and the Assam Rifles in very soft ways, coming to play football, coming to do health camps and things like that. We took out hundreds of children from the Northeast, got them to see other cultures, different parts of India, come here right to Bangalore. We got tribes that had been killing each other as recently as the 1990s to have their children study in the same school. And all this brought about a huge change, what I like to call the mindset change. So at this phase, to just give you the statistics, we have now been invited even by the government to right to the China border. We are working in 6 states. We are currently sponsoring over 7,000 children, while impacting another 3,000-4,000, so more than 10,000 children being impacted by peace and opening their minds, getting plurality and diversity. And another word about our team, very proud of them. We are now 32, most of them youngsters. They consider me as the Gao Buddha. Okay, the average age of the team is basically 26 or 27. They are mostly Teach for India fellows or from APU or Masters in Social Work. And each of my team members changes an entire village, because one person like a Sonal heads literally an entire village, an entire school. They empower, they teach, they train the teachers, not just take classes. So that is the change that is happening. I won't go too far. I think I may be exceeding my 5 minutes, but a great story, a developing story. I'd like all of you to see this when it is published. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Colonel Rigo. I'll now invite Gitanjali from Snehadhara Foundation to come and share her story. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Snehadhara is a non-for-profit organization in Bangalore that primarily works with children and adults and families of children with physical and mental disabilities. Snehadhara itself is a story. It gets its name from the first child I worked with called Sneha. And I think a child with special needs, a child whom I saw in a regular learning system in a school. And I think our first lesson of inclusion was when we met Sneha. And Sneha was visibly different to the rest of the children. But I think what Sneha taught all the children and the adults in the space that she belonged was how to embrace diversity. So Snehadhara birthed with that idea. Like every other regular parent, Sneha's parents also wanted her to go to a so-called normal learning system of education system or school. And every school had its reservations way back in 2007 when, I think 2007, when inclusion was not such a buzzword that it is today. And what we heard from most schools was that we could have her here, but we don't know what she can learn. Because she's different, I don't think she can learn the system of curriculum that has been doled out to the children here. So I came back home in 2011, end of 2012, and said, how can we have children being denied admissions in school because they're different? That birthed the organization. Today we are 10 years old. Of course, Neha is no more with us. We lost her about 5 months ago. But we worked with about 2,000 children through direct interventions, 50,000 children across the country with indirect interventions. What tells the story apart is this is a story that has been unheard and unseen because it's about children who I think we never see in public spaces. You do not see children with intellectual disabilities. You do not see children with autism. Now maybe you do, but you do not see many of them in the autism spectrum, children with intellectual disabilities in regular learning systems. So Snehadhara is that story which talks about every child, immaterial of their ability to learn, should be given learning opportunities. It was an attempt to redefine learning. It was an attempt to look at needs of children with special needs to be met through the practices of the arts. And from that births this story which has been published in, thanks to APU. I think, I keep saying this, that each story lives when it is told. And here's a beautiful platform for us to tell this story. Uhuru is the name of the story, which is freedom to be in Swahili. So when parents would come to me at the end of every end of an academic year, the worry would be, what happens to children like these after us? What happens? How would these children, what happens after 18? How would these children manage themselves? So Uhuru, as a story, as a innovation, talks about bringing in children and adults in a community living setup, which we right now run in Bangalore, and working with the medium of the arts, looking at how can we empower children to take care of themselves and answer this what after me question when the parents are there itself. So we have a campus where I think the model which works is to say, how do we look at direct beneficiary work and impact the lives of children through art-based methodologies? How do we redefine therapy as not treatment but equitable learning spaces? And how do we build a practitioner network model that can take this to as many spaces as possible? And in our journey of 10 years, I think I say that at the end of 10 years, the one thing that stays and resonates with all of us is this whole word of normalcy itself is so overrated. I think what does it mean for us to look at psychosocial well-being of learners? And if there are happy learners, then I think learning happens. The space resonates that in its every sentiment, be it the people leading the show. We have the team today, Yashashwini and Vibha here with us as well, who actually look at picking up. So our curriculum is designed by what the children provide. And art serves itself as that methodology. So 75% of the children that we work with would possibly never be into regular schools. I say children, but our oldest is a 44-year-old. So I think for us, the cue has been children provide. There are resources of learning within a child. What does it mean to develop a curriculum based on that and work back with the children? Inclusion for us is a verb where I think the practice of inclusion has to happen every day. And Uhuru is that story which I think has met more challenges than now. I would say it's the beginning. I think somebody said it's a developing story. I think the story has just about launched, and I think it took us 10 years to be heard. And now I think every mind that is working with children, every mind that is looking at inclusion, every mind in society has a role to play when it comes to build equitable learning spaces. I mean, the most recent for us have been, there hasn't been a public space from which our children or our team have not been sent out of, be it a railway station where we are asked to say, you know, come with permissions if you're bringing in children like this. Or when we set up the center itself, least did I know in 2012 that we'd have neighbors coming and forcing us to shut down that space. So I think for us, Uhuru is been an experiment. I would say an evolving experiment, a crucible of best practices. And with the journey of 10 years, now we have been able to take best practices, action-based projects that have happened in working with children, looking at how social, cognitive, speech and language goals in children with special needs can be met, achieved, quantified through the medium of the arts. Quite proudly today, this methodology has been adapted into various spaces in the country and outside. We've had 11 partnering organizations in Nepal who've come and picked up the best practices training and looked at taking it into their spaces within their organization. So in short, Uhuru is an invitation. It's a story that says we all have a role to play in this process of change. It's a story that believes that there can be a compassionate society in which children can just be. And just being itself is a lot of learning. And for us, I think platforms like this, when I heard every story, it was amazing to see the kind of, strength, the wind beneath our wings comes from knowing so many wonderful stories and work that is happening. And we hope that, like I said, the story has just begun. We hope that this is just going to be a start of a collective, because I think in the heart of it, Sneha Dhara, which is continuum of compassion and care, believes in the fact that we can do this together. We can build that inclusive and compassionate society. The programs have been replicated into various spaces. We have practitioners across the country. We've had this been integrated into existing learning protocols. So the idea or the innovation today is not about recreating something else, but it is about working with what we already have and how do we look at just psychosocial well-being. Happy people can be happy learners, and happy learners form a happy, compassionate society. And that's Uhuru, and thank you, and I hope you enjoy this story and become a part of this storytelling with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gitanjali. Yeah, thank you so much, Gitanjali, for the beautiful, beautiful description. I'd like to now call Shushmita Das to share her story of path.
Thank you, Nilanjana. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to the Azim Premji University for giving us this opportunity to be part of this Story of Change series. I represent PATH. PATH is a public health organization, and we've been working in different sectors of public health, for example, vaccines, tuberculosis, HIV, Hep C, and various diagnostics, etc., for more than 40 years in India. And our head office is in Seattle, United States. For this particular case, the story that we have this submission here. This story is about the universal access of tuberculosis care that was provided to patients in Mumbai. To be very specific, it was in Dharavi area. This project came into because like there was cases where there were reports that there were patients who were drug resistant, and they were like the medicines that were available for tuberculosis were ineffective for them. So PATH came up with this idea of model, which is known as the PPIA model, which is Public-Private Intervention Interface Agency, where there are many private practitioners that are available in that we go to when we have fever or any kind of medical symptoms. So in Dharavi also there were many private practitioners who were formal, informal. Or there were many, many chemists who were available, where patients would just go and take medicines over the counter, or there were various homeopathic or Ayush doctors as well. But Government of India also has various standard practices which are treatment practices which they are supposed to follow, which are not followed by some of the private practitioners. So through this intervention, there was a kind of a hub and spoke model which was developed, where these private practitioners were, like, whenever a patient would go to these private practitioners and they come up with certain symptoms, they were put through various diagnostics tests, and if they are suspected of tuberculosis like symptoms, then they will be referred to the main public hospital, the main government hospitals which are available. So that kind of model was created, and in this particular intervention, there were two community-based organizations were involved, and they were these two community-based organizations were involved in contacting the private practitioners in the Dharavi area, and they were counseling them, and talking to them about the PPIA model, and they told them how to they should refer to the doctors in the public hospitals whenever a patient with TB-like symptoms would come to them. So there's a series of approaches and series of work that has happened here, and I would really encourage you to read the article and to know the nitty-gritties of the story. But to cut it short, I think coming to the results of the interventions, I think the intervention managed to bring in more than 5,000 private practitioners to its folds, and there were about 150,000 notifications on the TB patients with not the TB patients, the potential TB patients. Probably they carried those symptoms, were notified to the public public hospitals, and about I think something around 50,000 cases where they were having TB as a medical conditions, and they were treated within a span of 6 to 7 months. And these patients were, they were technology partners also involved in this intervention, where the entire journey of a patient was captured through digital vouchers. Through that, what they could do is they would have contacted the patients for taking the medicines at right time and go to the doctors for follow-ups and all those things. The results were quite high. It was quite a large project, and at the end of it, there were the WHO recognized the project. The municipality of Mumbai, they also, adapted the model, and they have adapted the model into a different, with a different name, which is called PPSA now. And this project has been also scaled up, and there was another project that was launched, and it was taken up by the TB control department of the government of Maharashtra. So it was quite an effective project, and we thought that something of that large scale and something which was very impactful should be known to people. And so in the story that we have submitted, we did talk about the story and how a daily wager gets, cured by getting in touch with somebody, a CBO member, and how they are, referred to these public hospitals through the private hospital channel and all that, and how they are able to, get rid of that disease. So that was the story, and as I think I said that this will be the third time probably. I would really urge you all to read the story and enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sushmita. I'd like to now invite Kamaraj from Bidyal to share the story that he has submitted for our competition.
Thank you. Thank you, madam. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. Now I am going to tell a story about a traditional goat woman rearers became a corporate company. This is because of learning. Learning is common to everyone. Those who are educated go for higher studies for getting more employment, more economic empowerment, more economic income part. Like this, learning is also necessary for illiterate people also. For learning, those who are learned go to the institutions and learn formal educations. The illiterate women, they will not have an opportunity to go for a learning. So if they were, through this learning, if we are happen to provide empowerment, that is mainly on economic empowerment, definitely everyone can become a learner. This is the story. My name is Kamaraj, representing NGO called Vidyal in Theni district. We have been mainly working with women and farmers. We have a women self-help groups and farmers also. In the group, we have started 1994, we have started a self-help group, savings apart, everything. Savings and credit have been done. They were getting, the women are getting their credit from out of their savings, and also credit linkages with banks and everything was going on. Some of the women asked us, so simply this is not enough. We have to do some micro enterprises. So with learning. So what we thought is provide learning by using ICT. ICT is the mobile, we choose mobile. Most of the people are using mobile as a talking tool. Now we are using as a learning tool. We started with 300 women in 2007. We started an enterprise called GOAT. 300 women, each woman was given 9 female goat, 1 male goat mobile is the package. All the 10 goat will be insured, 6 months medicinal and feed cost, and shed includes 43,500. 3,500 is the members' contribution, 40,000 as a loan from bank. The bank has given a loan, the amount has to be repaid in 5 years' term. 40,000 for each woman. They have given a 300 women, 1 to 20 lakhs. This was given in August 15, 2008. So our women started on buying goats. We have never given any rules and everything. They set the rules, their own things. And also insurance part also they have done, because we have a collective. We have collectivization. We bargained with the insurance company. Usually insurance company charge 4 rupees per 100, but our people paid only 1 rupee per 100 rupees for the cost of the goat, because we have a large number. We have the bargaining capacity, because since we have a large number, the bargaining capacity has developed. So through the mobile, we have contacted some stakeholders. They provide learning through mobile at free of cost. Initially they resisted, then we convinced that this is a revenue per minute comes to the company only. We are also increasing your customer part. So this is a win-win frame. So they have accepted, they have started giving learning. So what are the learning we have to give? We discussed with the people, we developed a need-based content. How to select a good goat, what are the diseases comes a goat, when the diseases, how to cure, how to feed a pregnant goat, kids, how to maintain a set, all these things on the need-based. We provide a voicemail to them through their phone. Their land, they have repaid the loan. The amount has to be repaid in 5 years. They have repaid the loan in 2.5 years. Besides, they got the assets value of 1,50,000. They got the loan of only 40,000. All repaid all the loan. Besides, their assets value is 1,50,000. This is because of learning. Different universities, even the Commonwealth of Learning Canada has conducted a study, the effective of learning. They have suggested if a learning is blended with credit, the NPA of the bank will be nil. This is we proved with the bank. So we involved the bank as one of the stakeholders. This is our success. Different universities after conducting studies, this Commonwealth of Learning, taking this concept to 7 countries, using this technique, learning tool as a, speaking tool as a learning tool in the different activities. Now, in 2012, we have started the number of goats, slowly the number of goat rearers has increased. We have been thinking of starting a farmers producers company. 2015, we informally started. Then 2015, we have registered as a farmers producers company. 1,050 women members have joined this company. Each woman has given a share as 1,000 rupees. This 10,50,000 rupees is the share amount. Now it is the 7th year. The remaining 6th year, we have provided dividend to the farmers. The amount paid in 2015,000 is now the share value is increased as 9,740. This is the thing. These are our learning. We have also used this mobile, not only this learning, and also we have started a course with IIT Kanpur, mobile app, through the farmers. We have given a learning more than 82,000 farmers all over Tamil Nadu. We have also supported 25 NGOs, 15 APOs to build their capacity on this concept. This concept is we calling as lifelong learning for the farmers. Learning is necessary for everyone. This learning is taking place at every second. So the learning will not stop anywhere. So every second we are getting a learning. So learning is necessary. Through this learning, the process of knowledge empowerment, skill, economic empowerment has increased among women. Now they have got a very good recognition in the society, the women, in the family, in the society also. This is our story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kamraji. as I mentioned before, one of the organizations couldn't come, Kolkata Shambhed. I would like to read out the abstract of their story because their story is also part of the fourth edition of the Stories of Change. So the story is called Shampurnata Wellbeing Club, empowering adolescent girls in rural West Bengal to prevent human trafficking and gender-based violence. This case study focuses on Sampurnata Wellbeing Club, a program designed and implemented by Kolkata Samved, aimed at empowering adolescent girls and their communities to prevent and respond to human trafficking and gender-based violence. It was successfully piloted in Mondir Bazar block in South 24 Parganas district of West Bengal. The core of the program consisted of dance movement therapy, DMT, sessions for 120 adolescent girls who were at risk of human trafficking and gender-based violence in order to build psychosocial skills to respond to gender-based violence, including emotional regulation, confidence, communication skills, critical thinking, and decision-making. The program also involved the creation of a network of key stakeholders at the local level who served as a resource base and safety net for adolescent girls while responding to GBV. The dance movement therapy sessions enabled adolescent girls to access a sense of agency and build their leadership skills as they began taking an active role in orienting their families and communities to risks of trafficking and gender-based violence and responding to cases of such violence in their communities. So that was about the Sampurnata Wellbeing Club. We are coming to an end of the program. I'd like to call my colleague Nazrul, who's part of the team Stories of Change, to deliver a vote of thanks. I'd just also like to mention that there are two more very important members, active members of our team, who unfortunately, due to some family crisis, could not be here. So I'd just like to acknowledge the contribution of Ashok and Seema in this entire journey that we have had over the past several months.
Thank you.
Nazrul.
Thanks, Nilanjana. Can you hear me? So let me begin this vote of thanks in two stages. First stage is, how did you arrive at today's event? It's all because of so many of you, including 10 of you, more than 60, I think to 67 organizations who actually submitted their case studies to us this year. And the number is almost every year, there's more than 70, 80, like that. So it's big thanks to all of you and all of them, because we know that all of you are busy in the process of creating change. And then you're actually sitting, as you were saying, that sitting as a team and reflecting and learning, it's a very, very big task for all of you. So thanks everyone for writing and submitting year after year. And the second part of that process is our own internal members, because when we receive the case studies, we actually form panels of foundation members, university members, to read those case studies. And since the number of submissions is very high, almost 20 to 24, 25 colleagues are always involved. And it's a very, kind of rigorous task for all of them. And some of them are sitting here. I can see Manjunath, Manjula, Mani. Yeah, many people are there. I think Aditya is there. And so a big thanks to all of you, because you have spent time in reading all of the case studies. And finally, we have arrived at the 10 shortlisted ones. So this is what, this is the stage for, before today's event. And let me come to the event today. And the way it has been organized, I'm sure it has been a very decent, kind of nice, smooth event. It is only because of people who are working behind the scene. And let me first take the name of my colleague Sarat, who has organized everything, all the rooms that we used, yesterday, and everything from our lunch, tea, coffee, and this venue and all these other facilities. We have a support team, IMF team, Sandru, Fani, Anthony, and they always work from behind the scene. And Prasad is taking my photograph. Every event is Yeah, I mean, he documents it, all our events, all programs, everything. Not only photographs, also videos. So people in the, doing recording, and they're also making it live stream. Similarly, when we announced this event, and even now, after today also, the real work of producing the book will start. And in that process, our editors, and I'm thankful to, I don't see where is Aditi. Yeah, Aditi has actually come from Delhi, and Anuradha has come from Chennai. Now they will start working with all of your stories, edit, get back and forth. And our communication team, Bipul, Nani, Chachin is sitting here. So they do not only they do the outreach to spread the information, but they will also produce the book. And after producing the book, they'll disseminate. So there are too many people involved. And thanks, Richa and Giri and Arima, everyone, for being here and supporting this initiative. Thanks, everyone. My colleagues and some students I can see, although very few. Thanks for coming.
So nothing more to be said after this. So thank you all, and formally closing this event. Thank you. Sorry, just wanted to say that there's tea arranged outside. Very important, I almost forgot. There's tea. Please do have some tea and biscuits. First, the group photo. Yes, of course.